Oh, I'm doing Church Love. I just found out. San Diego.
Should be warmer.
Yeah, she had longer than Philly. But
Yeah, I think we're live. I think we're actually live. Hello, everybody, and welcome again to the Omi Show. Sorry, we already had some wine. As you all know, I'm joined by some of the top digital marketers in the world, starting with Purna Virji next to me.
Hello.
Purna, introduce yourself, please. You know me, I normally don't introduce people because they're more famous than me.
No, that's not. You're the one who everybody knows. So I'm the senior trading manager at Microsoft. I'm a joint nurse. I'm very lucky that my job lets me travel all over the world to talk about PPC, SEO, and exciting things about the future.
Let me stop you here. You forgot to say something. Purna was voted the top PPC person of 2016.
Not top PPC person, just most influential.
Okay. Number one. So let's go over there. We've got David Ivanov. David, introduce yourself, please. Unfortunately, we only have two computers, so.
So, hi, I'm David Ivanov. I'm an Australian, as you can hear from my accent. Sometimes people don't understand me because I slur and mumble a bit. So I'll try and pronounce all my words correctly. I've been living in Amsterdam for the last 3 years, working for eBay Classified Group. I'm now based in London, working for Blue Glass as Director of Strategy.
Yeah, forgot to say, one of the top digital agency in London, Blue Glass.
And David is one of the most famous international SEOs. Internationally recognized SEOs in the world.
I will take the compliment, but yeah, sure.
Let me go over there. Okay, Lauren. Maria is a bit shy today, but she shouldn't because she's a journalist. But okay, let's go to Laura. Laura, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Laura. I'm comms director at Brandon Free, another digital agency quite similar to Blue Glass. My background's in PR, so I kind of run PR campaigns for our clients, but with SEO benefits.
Wow. This is something I've always been interested in, SEO, PR, and basically backlinks.
And I've been stalking Laura online for years and years. And this is what I'm really
And yet we do look like we're meeting.
I didn't even know that.
We knew each other online.
Yeah.
So Maria, now is your turn.
Hi everyone, my name is Maria White. I am a journalist. I work as a PR specialist at Greenlight Digital. My background is in journalism mainly and PR. So yeah, I'm very interested and intrigued by both sides, from producing content just for a human interest angle to attract for a newspaper, and producing content towards an SEO benefit. So, yeah.
Yeah, something to say. Maria had one of the most interesting talks at Brighton SEO. Blogging, what was it?
Blogging from inside the war. So I got in touch with freelance journalists who are blogging from inside Aleppo. One of them has some shows. But that's how it is. One of them has passed away. And so, yeah, I'm currently working with a couple of pieces for Middle East Eye, and Al Jazeera English with one of the freelance journalists who I work with for this talk. So, yeah. The talk was about the technological challenges and how, without just using paid media or any other sophisticated strategy, how do people spread or the word about what is happening inside Aleppo? How do they get in touch with agencies around the world and work in collaboration with places like BBC or The Guardian, where they cannot send foreign correspondents because it's a very, very dangerous part of the world. So how they using just Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram get in touch with people around the world to work as a journalist. So it's very interesting.
Well, this is the future of digital marketing, basically. Social media. So when I announced this hangout on LinkedIn, a lot of you emailed me questions. Strangely enough, or maybe not, most of them were aimed at Purna. So let me start with the first one. Basically, the question was how to prepare for the future of search.
That has a very short answer.
You may think.
No,
Now that we're close to Christmas, I was about to say, let's do a prediction for next year, guys.
yeah.
For what's going to be good, bad, in 2017.
I think voice search definitely going to be a lot bigger in 2017. I think all the technology that's coming out now with Google Home and Amazon Echo, I think people are becoming a lot more comfortable with voice search as a concept. So I think that's going to be on the rise. Could be wrong.
I've just finished my biscuit, obviously.
David, I told you about this unofficial hangout. You know, we're just sitting.
I think it's like, some kind of resolution they
Before David give us his answer, basically I wanted to gather some people, have some wine. I bought some Chianti, if you don't, you can see it, a biscuit, chocolate, but then Purna said, let's talk about digital marketing as well. Well, I never talk about digital marketing, but when Purna asks you something, you have to do it. So, David, please.
I respect the dictator. It's fine. It's a cool thing. I could say something on that topic, but I will stay away from that.
No, but what do you think is going to be big next year?
All right. Yes, good. Back to the topic. So I think voice search is great, but for a whole lot of situations, there's a whole lot of things where it fails. So if you have a strong accent, if you're in another country.
That's we were just talking about it. I'm ghetto, and I hate it because it recognizes my 6-year-old child, and every time I say something to it, it just says, sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
But then your child is a future. I'm not saying old or anything like that.
I don't know. And the other thing is probably, I guess, the personal assistant. So they're still fairly useless. But I guess when you're starting to book things like calendar invites, it's starting to get a little bit smarter. Depending on what device you have, further integration. So I think some of those things will hopefully get a bit quicker and smarter, and potentially work offline. And that's the problem. A lot of this stuff requires internet connectivity. And if you live in a place like London, one is there's too many bloody people. Phone signal often fails on a regular basis.
Just in general, I think
It's raining because there's too many people. And they have this thing called the underground, the tube. So all these great technologies have kind of stopped working. And you can get Wi-Fi in some areas, but I think that's a big thing. A lot of these technologies have to start working offline. Otherwise, there's no real way for you to interact with your device. And when you exit the tube, it's too late or you've forgotten what you want to do. So I think that's probably the biggest thing, that they need to crack the offline, progressive web apps is obviously something they're doing. But there's still a big problem with voice search.
Yeah,
It needs connectivity, and it needs decent bandwidth. Maybe it's the accent, it needs more processing power.
No, that's very true. And there's plus the follow-up. So that's like you and I talked about David in the past. So requires that. Very much with you.
Well, having content, I think building, going back to what I do, I think for 2017, still good content, I hate to say it, be repetitive or hate to say it, but yeah, it's still going to be important. Links are still important as well for SEO. So I think producing good content and still aiming at getting links within that content is what is going to be important. Producing just content without a link, yeah, that's great. That's traditional PR, so I would say. And as digital marketeer as well, no, that's not our job.
So which type of content? So we're talking video content, we're talking long form content.
All type of content, not just focusing on one type. Like
Yeah, I have to totally agree with this one. You know, people normally just think when they say content, they think articles. You know?
yeah, no,
And I think video is coming now, and video is going to be massive.
I think there's exciting technology within video. So one of our partner agencies did a really fun thing with Expedia and the Hawaiian tourist board, and it was all around personalizing content. So you played a video of Hawaii, so all the different things that Hawaii's got to offer, but it used facial recognition from your webcam while you were watching the video to see how you reacted to the images that were played in the video, to then give you a personalized content recommendation saying, based on how you reacted to what you saw, this is the Hawaii we think you'd be interested in. So you'd really like the beaches, or you really liked the greenery, because the point was that Hawaii's got so much diversity that you don't realise, but it was then saying, actually, this is the bit that you'd like. I think that kind of content, mixing the two, that was a video, but then it gave you like a written kind of itinerary. Yeah, that's really powerful, and it feels like it's about you. It's using technology not just for the sake of technology, but to actually give you a better experience, and that's really cool.
But is that really cool or really scary in some ways? Because you can kind of think about, if they start doing that, there's a lot of other advertisers. You think about Facebook, they can start judging your facial expressions and see what's showing in your feed. Were you happy with those feed results?
But you have to activate your webcam to let them do it.
But yeah,
but yeah.
The voiceful user in your voice. There's lots of stuff that's coming out. I think that's my question, because it's all down to the AI. And it's got different agents. So voice is a big agent. There's definitely your camera is another agent that you can just take a photo of something in a magazine and figure out where you can buy it. Or finally, it's also chatbots and SMS, believe it or not, all good old-fashioned SMS, just based on its usage. I think these two will be really big trends that we'll see much more of in years going forward. There's already the importance of what's to come in what people are using now. For example, Sephora, have you seen the Sephora app? It uses virtual reality. It's called virtual artist. You can take a photo and it'll show you the different lipsticks and different eyeliner and different eyelashes. It's just brilliant. Yeah, I bought 4 lipsticks just to clear out the door for a light jack. I'm like, God, but they're great lipsticks. I really like them. But it's still that's interesting. It's tying in this augmented reality into technology we carry with us everywhere, our phones. And so that's really big. So it will, not a shorter term, it will be technology that's based on things we already carry, so the phones. That's why SMS and messaging apps. And your grandmother will have a text messaging system which won't be on Facebook. Those usages are always so much. Facebook Messenger, you can now send money. And just what's happening with chat in China, there was all this article about it lately. Interesting. Maybe we'll see some of that.
Yeah.
Just e-commerce platforms. There'll be like little genies in the bottle that every time you're like, oh, I need help, come out, you can talk to it, and then go away and just be there when you need it. So that's also going to be convenient and save money for customers, you know, the CRM, for acquisition, any of those.
My prediction: branded search.
Branded search,
yes.
yeah.
You know, I was talking about branding, personal branding, and stuff like that. You know, like 6-7 months ago, people didn't get it. But now, working for a lot of, doing SEO for a lot of small e-commerce companies, you know, I can see that people they don't look for wide anymore. They look for Chianti. They don't look just for trainers. They look for Adidas trainers, Nike trainers. And also, we have to connect this with voice search, right? Because if I have to talk to my Alexa, I can't just say trainers. I'll say something like, I want to order Pizza Hut. It's not like I want pizza. Alexa.
Because Domino's has a skill on Alexa.
Yes, so soon everybody's going to be on this thing, and then it's not going to be just like, I want pizza, I want Pizza Hut, I want pizza from Domino.
But that's the thing. So for that to,
so branded search is
branded search is great. But when you talk about like the pizza example, it's kind of the device should be smart enough to know.
Know where you normally order.
Yes. And there's things like Deliveroo app, all those types of apps. It's kind of like, it knows that every Friday night, you order from Jamie Oliver's restaurant because, or, Gourmet Baker Kitchen, because they're open late.
That's not every Friday ordering from Jamie Oliver.
Not every Friday.
Yeah, but what if you want to try something different?
But that's the thing. So I think devices need to be smarter about some of this stuff. So it's kind of like, every Friday night you order that pizza, and it might suggest, well, actually, you might want to try this restaurant. And I think a lot of these apps have a lot of data, and they're not trying to entice you to try something different, or guess what you want to do. So they already have it with the Uber app, where you open the app, and I guarantee they know how long it takes after you open it on the order of Uber. So the same thing like Amazon is doing, where they can based on the time you spend on a page, the likelihood you would actually get that item. And I think they should start testing, just sending stuff out to you.
Really?
That's so fascinating to think about the time that you spend the change in fraction or average
total value of what you do.
I can see that. Yeah, that's where it all is. I think that's the big mistake.
So no, the future of digital marketing, big data.
It is, but the problem is
any form.
They haven't got the analytics and basics right first. Like, you speak to some of these app companies about this stuff, like, oh, do you track engagements? They're like, what? So for a lot of these app companies, they just haven't even thought about this, so they don't have the data in the first place. I think that's the biggest.
I think also a lot of people forget that big data is great, but you still need humans to interpret it and then make decisions with it. It's all very well collecting the data and knowing you've got it, but it needs humans to make smart decisions about how you use that, and things like thinking.
We're on one side of the table, and I'll just turn it around so you can see the rest of the people on the other side.
It still needs humans to go, this is what we can do with that data, this is how it actually makes something real for people, that's a great example of, right, we've got this data and this is how we make it work for our customers. People kind of, I don't know, I feel like people don't always make that human step of going, okay, well, what do we do with it?
That's what we're trying to push actually a lot at Microsoft. We've tailored it down to the 3 Ps of the technology. It's the predictive, pervasive, and
predictive, prevalent, and pervasive. The predictive is
self-knowing you, self-understanding your behaviors that will allow us to give more tailored results.
So if I look for a restaurant in your room, it knows that it won't serve you the steakhouse, so that even though I might have 5 reviews of these right next to me, it will serve me something else that has veggie option. So that's interesting. Predictive, that's what the money is, I think. You imagine if like M&S asking you that this is going to be the top selling sort of style of clothes next year. We could start starting a market campaign now. We can have everything ready now, and that could get stuff out there. And then being able to search in different ways. We do not know that Xbox with Word, any place you want to search, you can. Like Apple has their phone, Google has, Assistant, and Google Phone now. So all these different places that search is coming to you. And Danny Sullivan.
I like this. Search is coming to you.
It is. It's really like we don't have to learn.
It sounds a bit spooky.
No,
but
it's not. It's there to help
true.
you with that. So I was talking to Danny Sullivan in Texas earlier this week, and he was giving this example of how he has a hamster, and every time he goes down his fridge, the hamster gets really excited. I just think it's going to get fed, and he'll give whatever's in the fridge to the hamster, just make it happy. He said, if I'm in the fridge, I had grapes, and I didn't know if I could feed my hamster grapes or something that they can and can't eat. That would be really like, hey, Echo or Alexa, can hamsters eat grapes? And they'll go in and bake. I was like, that's such a brilliant example, because the goal is to see, like, grapes or not go safe for hamsters. You just ask them your life use question.
But then you've got the issue, and obviously you also ask Cortana, couldn't you?
Yeah,
Well, see, Alexa power being as well, so that's good. Yeah.
Okay, sorry, my bad. So I think the interesting thing about that is you've also got the issue of the fake news stuff, which is surfaced at the moment due to obviously whatever happened with the US, and that's the big problem. That you're depending on these types of technologies, and they take the first results from potentially Wikipedia, basically any idiot with a internet connection can change Wikipedia. So, it's kind of like the whole Google has classification and your lifestyle.
Yeah.
So the problem is you're just taking kind of like the first result and you're taking that advice.
Yeah, who's policing that?
Yes. And that's where it's kind of scary.
Yeah. That is the difficulty, because I guess that is the thing where when you search traditionally, you've got 10 links or however many links it is now to choose from. You're kind of making that conscious decision of looking at which ones you want to believe. If you're only being served one answer, like, can you ask, can I see the next result? Like, probably not. It's just going to give you one result. So I guess that is a valid point in terms of is it certain trusted sources that it gives you?
That's true.
They only will read out one to you, which is a pain. Then I think we're going to get into separate facets of voice search. It'll be like when it
So audible results, when you serve visual results. So I do Google Assistant on my phone, for example, giving me the visual results. Because I have to come up there, or Siri will hold some things in our interface. So how do you align yourself there with the AI? And that's something I'm trying to research actively in a way. So I've started looking at some things for local searches, especially. Cortana will serve. Will reach you to different places sometimes than the other search engines do. So if I'm looking for a local restaurant in America, she'll pull Yelp. If I was looking at Italy last week, she was pulling TripAdvisor. So that's when you prioritize where you optimize your reviews, because it's just take whatever she's taking. And that would be a really interesting way of joining forces a little bit with the AI and be like, okay, let's just help her with her goal, which is being relevant. So by the way, all over again.
So talking about the local stuff, 2 weeks ago, I was looking for a Spanish restaurant in King's Cross, and I looked on Yelp, and the place had like 3 stars, like 20 reviews, and I'm like, oh. And then I looked on Google Local, and I think it had about 100 reviews. It's like 4.5 stars.
Oh, that's interesting.
But that's the whole thing, where it's kind of like the platform makes a decision, and as a user, you look at this and go, well, there's only 5 reviews. And the rating's 5 stars. I don't trust that.
Yeah.
But I don't think the technology is smart enough to have that human intuition kind of like something doesn't fit right. Like same thing when you go to read a review on TripAdvisor or Booking, any of those. It's like, great view of the ocean, right? But this is not even an oceanfront hotel. And you look on maps and it's like that's not even close.
Yeah.
Like I don't trust any. After you read a couple of things, I don't trust anything on that particular hotel anymore.
They're getting really smart. I think that's down to the individual websites. So the search engines and the whatever personal assistants will sign deals with the review websites to be able to pull their reviews. And I think that's something that the review sites have to police. And a lot of them are getting much smarter. So for example, I think that I don't know if it's Yelp, but one of them is they look at how many reviews you post and the recency of you there and so take that into account. Like Amazon stopped being able to give product in exchange for reviews. So they've
Only
cut down.
the US.
Only the US. I think they'll do that here. Okay.
Maybe
Baby steps to take to the right step.
But that's the thing, you hear about this reviews like, oh, this is great, they don't do paid reviews anymore. And it's like, well, actually, it only happens in the US. Or if you look at some platforms, they have reviews in different countries. So if you go to the US version of Amazon, they might have 100 reviews for this particular book. And in Australia, they might have 5 reviews. So
I think there's also a thing in that, because Amazon reviews remain one of my favourite things to read. Because
Yeah.
they are hilarious. There are some quality writers on that.
Yeah.
Like, it's amazing.
the gummy bear one.
But
Oh, the pen for
pink
women.
pen,
Yes, that was the pen.
that's amazing. But how does the search engine, if I want to know a review of that pen,
Mhm.
that funny review is going to be the top rated. Yeah. But is it useful? So if
Yes,
I
yeah.
actually, if I'm asking how it's search engine, I guess, determines what a quality review is for me. Because if it goes off what's the most popular, it's not a useful review for me,
Mhm.
because it's a guy being sarcastic or a woman being sarcastic. So like there's stuff like that as well.
And the
Between
engagement, that's probably a high engagement.
yeah,
That's all the other ones.
it takes all the traditional boxes
Yeah.
in terms of what would be the best result. But it takes a human to realise. At the moment, it takes a human to realise that's not actually a review of the pen, really. That's just, someone being funny.
I think that's what the cognitive services and all the language understanding that the AIs are working on. I mean, Bing's working on, of course, but so is Google. Like that's good. RankBrain is more about understanding relevancy and context and language,
Yeah.
really. So that's where it could tie in to start to understand all of that.
Yeah, saying that, let me just stop you here because we're never going to go through all these questions, obviously, as usual, guys, sorry. But there was a question here, and so comment on something Microsoft said recently. Voice recognition is not the same as understanding speech.
That's 100% true, right? One, you can, if you just need to take dictation and understand that, you just need to be able to recognize the word sounds. But then to look at things into context and understand their meaning and like sarcasm, for example, that's when it really takes the semantic understanding, linguistic understanding of that, which certainly in actively worked on by artificial intelligence. We're trying to train computers to recognize text and speech and understand like a human would.
And is this something to do with, because the same email also mentioned the DeepMind project? I don't know anything about this.
I think this is another Google project.
You Google bought the
Yeah.
Oh, then
I think that's quite a lot around like trolling, how you get around people that troll people on Twitter or in comment feeds. I think they did a big project with like the New York Times, going through all the comments to teach it what was an offensive or abusive comment and what was just a sarcastic comment, because sarcasm remains one of the most difficult things to understand for a computer.
If you look on Facebook, think about how many times you troll your friends when they post really dumb
Exactly,
stuff.
and that's the difficult thing.
But that's with love. And
Yeah.
You have certain friends, and one of my friends, he always posts photos, and he's like, please, add insults below.
Yeah.
And people don't hold back. But, everyone has a kind of relationship with him.
But a machine won't know that. Because they were saying like there's the automatic filters now. You can trigger an automatic filter on Instagram so that it doesn't show you what it deems to be offensive comments, and the same on Twitter, which is what you're in danger of not actually seeing the stuff you want to see at the moment, because Twitter doesn't know that that's your mate saying it to you rather than a troll saying it to you.
But there will be different things. So that if it's your mate, then you've had more exchanges with them, which would be different if it was just like one horrible troll.
It doesn't. It
Yeah,
doesn't.
it doesn't.
Because I think it might have been Dan Baker. Might have been him, and he might have made a particular joke about something, and because he used a profane word, it filtered out my newspaper.
Oh no.
So this is the whole thing. So Twitter's rolling out to everyone, but for a long period of time, in a verified account, you could enable a quality filter that would just cover all of these conversations. You look at some of these conversations, you had regular banter with them, and it decided to filter it from your newspaper. So I think that's the big danger, even in those relationships. The platform isn't able to connect that together and just says, oh, this is a bad word, I'm going to filter this conversation.
It goes off the order of the words as well. So I was reading this project about how they're trying to combat trolls, because I found it quite interesting. And basically they've got this system where you can put phrases in and it gives it like an offensive score, like how offensive it is.
It's okay.
And it like the way you order words and just up the score by 100. And it's essentially kind of the same sentence, it's just the order you put the words in. And what it deems more offensive at the moment is still, I mean, it's getting there. I think it's good trying to do this, but it's still got a way to go to learn more about you as a person and who you'd be offended by and who you wouldn't.
But if you ever go to the newspapers and look at the comments on certain stories, it's a horrible place to go. And YouTube, you just
say Daily Mail.
Well, not really.
Sometimes the Daily Mail comments are quite funny. I'll give you that.
Okay. But then I'm in charge of SEO, not to do with journalism.
Yeah.
When you start ranking some of those terms, because you mention so many times in the comments, that's when it gets a bit more awkward. Because you have people that really sometimes see the royal family, and yeah, it's just there's those types of things that I don't think artificial intelligence can keep up with, because there's localized slang.
Do you think it can't keep up with it now, or it can't ever keep up with it?
Without getting hold of false positives, I don't think it can ever keep up with it, because people adapt and learn. The same thing. Like you look at how various services in the past, like even online dating, all those types of services, they said, well, you can't send emails or phone numbers. And people work out various ways to get around that.
Yes.
So that's you're going to troll something, you're going to say something horrible. People work a way
Find out
around
how
it.
it doesn't trigger it.
Another question?
Yeah, no. So basically, to summarize, big data, voice search, but we cannot, artificial intelligence, but we cannot ignore the human factor.
Yeah, it's so important now. But again, because are getting more and more human. I'll give you one example. We have this bot called CaptionBot.ai, and the engineers really just built it for fun. Actually, it was a fun project that they built. It's so smart. So if my colleague took a photo of her husband and son at her son's soccer game or football game, and it's kids playing, but the adults are standing around in the photo. So you and I, okay, we can tell that it's kids playing, but how would a computer know? The guy standing in front of the goalpost, it could be the goalie. Caption was able to recognize that, hey, it's a bunch of kids that are playing football, and because they were playing on concrete, she's like, I think they're playing in a parking lot. It's that clever, this image recognition. So if you can think, it's just, she's getting much smarter than you think. Something that Cortana, that I think we can do, but I think it's not rolled up really yet, is it's called commitment. So if I had to, I might send an email like, oh, Laura, in the morning, Laura, I'll give that to you by end of day. And by end of day, like, things happen, we move on, we've all been in that situation. Cortana can sort of read through it and be like, hey, did you still send this to Laura? Which is a really handy, helpful reminder.
Wow.
But again, it's just some capabilities that they're testing. I don't think it's rolled out. You can test it out now. It's helpful. We can build that trust and that relationships, and I find that really fascinating.
That's why I love talking to Purna, you know? This is the future. If you want to know the future, talk to Purna.
No, really good stuff.
I don't know. Sorry, let's go back to the question. Because there was one specifically for David.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. I announced this, and then people start, emailing me and stuff, So at least one for David. So the question was something like, computers are increasingly able to create images and write articles on their own. Something I'm talking about. Yeah? Maria, do you think that the job of an SEO could become automated and ultimately disappear?
I think for certain things, potentially. So if you're using computer for maybe deciding how many...
I've never seen an article written by a machine, but
they can. There was, I have this
music. I've seen the jazz. There was a jazz show in London, and it was composed entirely by... It was all machine learning. They taught the machine to compose a whole concert of jazz, and it was unveiled recently.
Oh, wow.
And it was a sci-fi movie. And it was actually not half bad. The computer read, I think it was like 100 sci-fi films and all the scripts, and actually created its own sci-fi movie.
Wow.
So it is entirely possible, but in terms of doing away the jobs of an SEO, so there's various platforms out there, things like BrightEdge have been trying for years. But there's a lot of things which day to day don't make sense to automate. So for example, we're working with one of our clients at the moment, we're looking at sort of what keywords they've picked. And I look at the keywords they picked, and I'm like, well, one is you're not really ranking that well for that keyword, and probably the fifth or sixth most popular keyword. There's much more popular keywords that you could potentially be targeting. The problem is you have artificial intelligence, but sometimes I think make mistakes if it's going to picking titles. And also you look at how content spinners. You can read content and go, this makes no sense. So I think while it can write stuff, I think if a human's consuming the content, I think they will notice that something's not right, but they won't know what it is. So I don't think it's going to do the SEO's job anytime soon, unless it's like looking for errors.
Same question goes to Maria as well. Can a machine write better than a human being?
Absolutely not.
Because there are no emotions, I get.
There might be machines or whatever methods to get automated content, but definitely I don't think that is something that is going to replace a journalist or an SEO anytime soon in the next, I could say, 5-6 years.
And a machine can only do what you've shown it, and so a machine has to learn from something that already exists. But the benefit you have as a human, like if you think of emerging news stories, until the machine has seen enough about it, never going to craft an article around it. And in terms of user behavior, unless you show it that a user or a person, a human, behaves in a certain way, unless you've already shown it that, it can't start optimizing for it. It can't start doing things to craft a better experience. It can only go off what it's already seen. Whereas a human can predict, this is how things are going to change, or I don't know, I think you always need human.
We'll still need the human. You know who's talked about this just this week is Calvin Newman, who runs Brighton SEO. We were both in Dallas at City Search earlier this week, and his whole talk was how the robot overlords will take over jobs as search engine optimizers and marketers. So if you can find that slide deck online, I would highly recommend it. Or just keep tweeting Calvin and asking for that slide deck.
Okay.
I don't know if you'll be very pleased with me for doing that, but no, it's great. But I pretty much agree with all your points, and you can't replace the human, but maybe the things that we do that will get replaced, and we should just be prepared for that.
So there are various companies testing this. So there are media companies obviously working on trying to speed up the transcription various things. So I'm trying to think, I think it was Reuters, where they have the earnings season come through and they have 1,000 companies report in the space of 1 or 2 days. And they basically use artificial intelligence to draft up stories based on earnings reports. And if it's in the top tier, top 10%, that's then passed across to a journalist who expands the story. But the automated bot gets the story out, so they're first to get it to press. So I think for a lot of, I guess, kind of grunt work, or reporting, how many car accidents have happened this year, those types of automatic and updated stories that come from reliable sources, I think they definitely can be automated and potentially less typos and mistakes. But then again, you also get the flash crash that happened with the pound because of computers.
The problem you've got though is, it's like when we were talking about like fake news and stuff before, you've got so many hackers these days that are feeding these fake stories that if it's a machine that's just interpreting the data that's coming in, it will report it as news, isn't it? Like there was a story I was reading about this incident that happened in the US, and loads of people got a text about it, and it's all over the news, all over Twitter. There was a massive explosion somewhere, and there was this guy that works in the emergency response, seeing all the people about it, and he was like, "I live next to where they're reporting it. Like there is an explosion," and it was on TV on the news channels that ISIS had claimed responsibility for it. There was a video with that happening. And it was all completely fake. And then he then went on this kind of mission to find out how all this had happened. But it's exactly that. All these fake stories came in. And to be fair, that was humans reporting it, just believing that there was a bot that was sending photos on Twitter. And because there was no one there, the reporters were just taking, there was enough photos, enough users talking about it, that a person then started reporting it, and it was all over the media. And it never actually happened. It's a really interesting article about how that's happening. But the machine is going to make an even bigger mistake than a human.
Yeah.
So avoiding the human factor is dangerous, basically.
Yeah, but it was going to get smarter and smarter. That's what we have to think about, right? There's some of the things that the bots are just going to get better at. Like, for example, translation, they can translate much faster. They can learn to recognize emotion.
Yeah. So thinking about the next question, is Microsoft using a right way?
I don't know.
Because it's going to get smarter.
It is. We're doing a lot of great stuff with AI. For example, if you have never seen anything, go and check out Microsoft Cognitive Services, and it's just brilliant, the things that they're training artificial intelligence to be able to do. But as far as specifically that question, I have no idea, to be honest.
Sorry, guys. David?
Probably. I mean, it's so big brain is basically more search. So Microsoft's looking beyond search. So I think rank brain is probably going to be short term.
Yeah, my opinion is it's always bad to have only one person or big company, whatever, doing something, like Google now got this monopoly research,
Do you guys know what market share in the UK is? Can you guys guess?
25%?
20%? 25 to be specific. And it's grown up. When I was here for Brighton in September, we just crossed 20%. So it's already grown 3% since September.
Since September.
I know, we're doing well in the US for like 32%.
I guess it's all to do with our interview.
It's nice to you.
But you guys did correct that in terms of what you were saying about search being everywhere. I think that's probably one of the reasons why Bing really took that to the next level, where Google kind of stuck to it, has always stuck to people will search on phone or
Just
have
the
a
browser, right?
you know what I mean? Whereas you guys kind of thought, right, well, where do people need answers, and let's put our search at the heart of that, which is probably why I would guess would be why your share is increasing so much.
You've actually hit the head, and that's something like our senior leadership has been so amazing. Like Satya Nadella, I wrote him so much. He's like our CEO. He's so visionary. They have always thought that, listen, why are we fighting a browser war? People's behavior is changing. Like it's so much work to them. Go to the computer, open your browser, type in the search engine, and check it. We want to search in different places. So Bing brings search to you wherever you are. So whether Word doc, highlight a word search in Bing. If you go to any website, Cortana will pop up. If you're using ads, you'll say, oh, this one has this review. Do you want to go through the reviews online? Or do you want to use the app? Or if I'm trying to look for a song on YouTube, Cortana will be like, do you want to see the lyrics of the song? Sure, do so and that's all. It's all based on the power of search.
So when we're here on Android,
The app is ready. You can download the Cortana app. A lot of Microsoft products. Let's go to Cortana. I have it on my iPhone. I have the Cortana app. Can I chat with her? She is really good at understanding accents, Maria, because clearly I've lived in different countries. I saw
Makes sense.
Everybody can take 2 minutes and download Cortana.
find it in the App Store.
Yeah, I think we're struggling a little bit with the Wi-Fi here, you know.
Oh yeah, so we'll go to the next question.
Yeah, I can see some people actually telling me Anton is live as well, telling me that
Hi, Anton.
That
Anton. We
he's
love
struggling,
Anton.
and I think it's something to do with the Wi-Fi. Anyway, next question, which actually I don't have a question for Maria, but there was a question for Laura. Is it safe to use PR links for SEO?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's,
This question,
I think it's, I'm not, like, there's always this talk about whether PR is link building, and I don't think that's necessarily the case, because there's a lot of other ways to acquire natural links beyond PR.
Yeah, I'm not shaking your head, David, but many people don't get it, you know?
Is this, you don't agree or you?
No, PR hasn't.
Oh, right, okay.
It's not about replacing, it's about...
But I think it is, you know, it is one of the most natural ways to generate links. By essentially what we're doing is creating content and campaigns that people want to share, want to write about. We're creating like a natural way to build links. So yeah, I can't see where the harm would be. I think the only I think using PR to generate links is becoming more challenging though. Purely various reasons. Publishers, for example, in like changing when they can follow links or when they can implement links. Things like trying to monetize links on the site it does make it more of a challenge, but I definitely don't think there's any harm in it. I think the only harm was maybe that pressure originates from the whole like news wires and using news wires to generate links. That wasn't actual PR, that was just SEOs again finding a way to spam to get links. So that's obviously
So what I found with that,
I haven't done it.
Oh, really?
So years ago, we were working on one particular client, and they'd kind of been a bit aggressive on the PR syndication. But it wasn't the PR syndication sites that caused the problem. It was all the scripts and bots. So it's not, I guess, and saying no. So it's not the PR sites we found the issues with. It was all the sites that scraped the content and republished it. And that's where they got caught out.
But there was a problem in that people so news wires were supposed to be used to actually get a real story out there. There were a lot of SEOs using them when they didn't actually have a story. It was just a bit of content with a link. It wasn't PR.
They still exist.
Yeah.
There's still lots of them. There's SEO PR sites out there.
Did they get done?
I'm sure they get value, but we found it for a recent client. We're talking about stuff, and it was like, it was might have been a Russian or French site, and I said, well, basically, just put it into Google Translate. It's like SEO PR releases. That's what the site translated to. I'm like, you don't want links from this site.
Yeah.
They're like, Oh, yeah, our agency did that for us.
Yeah.
So people.
But there's agencies still doing it and still peddling, and there's agencies still actively promoting the fact that they buy links and saying this is a strategy that we can be approaching clients saying that. And clients, and hopefully smart enough that there's clearly some clients that are naive enough to think that it actually works. Otherwise, we would think it's the agencies that do that. So.
Yeah, but there are sometimes valid reasons for doing stuff like that. So if you're trying to do online reputation management, so you're trying to build links to your social profile, I think great, that can definitely work.
But that's not buying links for SEO.
No, but it's buying links to build links to a website to control your brand results.
What do you mean by buying links?
So so doing draft proper, it has to be PR story. But doing the purpose of building links to
And put it in on an automated service.
no, putting links to social media. So what you're paying, newswire, so the proper accredited ones that actually check your content first. So not talking about the automated ones where you pay $49 and they syndicate from million websites. No, I think there's still a valid reason for some businesses to do this.
I mean, buying links in like buying content, like paying to feature content is obviously a valid tactic, but not for SEO. So there's a reason that we have advertisers and we have native advertisers.
And they drive search.
Yeah, there is a place for paying to feature your content somewhere, but you should never be paying in order to get a link to improve SEO.
Yeah. No. There is one big difference and maybe confusion about buying links and money and stuff like that. One thing is buying links and paying for creating a beautiful press release and putting it out there on any automated services. Highly not recommended at all. No, I don't want to mention services, but don't put your releases on automated services. Just pitch them. If you have a release, pitch them one-to-one to a journalist. That's the best way to do it. Otherwise, you're going to put it on a newswire service, and all you're going to get maybe 1 to 2 links and a little really rubbish links, and that's as detrimental as just doing old school guest posting, page directory stuff. So don't do automated services for press releases. Please don't do that. Sorry, I just agree about that. What was I saying about that?
But it also annoys journalists because some of those services then go to spam actual journalists. So when you end up reaching out to them, you're like, oh yeah, I got your particular press release, but the automated service like 150 emails yesterday.
Yes.
So you also have to be very careful because you don't know what happens. Because they say,
Yes.
we will send your press release out to journalists.
Yeah.
And
What I was saying, confusion about paying for links and resources. There is a big confusion about, a link should be for free. So therefore it shouldn't cost me a thing to produce, or I shouldn't have any budget. One thing is having some budget to create good content. Another one is having budget to pay for links. So two very different things. And I've been speaking to people who think, well, I pay £1 per VA, or I don't pay anything, I don't have any budget because I shouldn't pay for links. No, one thing is budget to create good content. Another one is sparing budget to pay for links, which I wouldn't recommend it at all.
But that's the thing. So you talk around the good content creation. So you talk around the stuff for the Hawaii Tourism Board that obviously working with Expedia. So I think there's still a lot of stuff for old school PR, engaging with, influencers, but, it's not the purpose of I'm doing this just for the link. I'm doing this for my brand to be discussed, to drive branded search.
And I think that is a massive thing. So, like, you should never ever be doing anything just for the link. There has to be wider. There has to be wider value to the audience, to the customers, to someone than just getting a link. We always say the highest person in that company is whoever the client is. Would they share? So wherever you get that link, would they want to share it? Would they want to say that you were there? Would they be proud of whatever that content piece is that you've been featured on. If you've just done it for a link, they probably wouldn't. But if you've done it because you have some genuine content, you have some interesting data or something like that, and the audience is going to engage with it, then absolutely you should do it. It should never be. And that's why one of my biggest frustrations is people that try and hold you to a certain number of links per month or a certain DA or things like that. That's just trying to get you to do a certain number of links or a certain quality of links. It's not thinking about what's interesting to our audience, what will journalists want to write about. If that's it holds you to the wrong kind of measurement, and it's one of my biggest bugbears, because it shouldn't be about the link. It should be about who we want to reach. And the best place to reach them might be a blog that has virtually no DA, but actually the users that do engage with it are exactly right for your product and your service.
Or even worse, I've heard recently from speaking to some people, friends, people who ask for follow links only. So it's like when a friend
Tell us his name.
No, it's not working.
Name and shame.
I'm not saying he's a man or a woman, whatever, friends in Leeds, and he said, well, I just wrote this amazing link on a paper. But then the client comes back and says, it's not a follow link, and you go back to the publication, this is the Times, and ask for a follow link.
Yeah, but the interesting thing,
There's no better way to play a relationship with journalists, because you've just shown them the only reason you're trying to
Yeah,
hurt.
so no.
So the smart thing to do is actually look at web. So I know past particular sites, and the content each has been published, and it's driven referral traffic, and that referral traffic is generating revenue through sales.
But not only that, you might get a no-follow link, or you might not even get a link at all. You might get coverage on one side, but then other sites pick it up from there, and you do get a link, you do get you get more from that. So it shouldn't ever be about that one, like each place having a followed link.
Well,
Because again, that's not natural.
yeah, but that's the thing. I'm sure if you got covered on the Daily Mail, in terms of, so the Daily Mail wrote an article on 10 reasons to visit Hawaii. I guarantee other sites will then start writing about Hawaii.
If you get a link in Daily Mail, they can crash your website with the amount of traffic they send.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. So
It's not always the best to get a link on there.
we've lost our moderators for that.
Yeah.
I mean, they're trying to work out how to break ratio.
Yeah. Don't forget that we're here only
for the wine.
only also for the wine.
So next question. So I think we had the most awkward conversation there. I'm sure someone's writing out all the notes. Is going to tweet.
Yeah, unfortunately we're having some problems with the Wi-Fi or something, But anyway, everybody got hello from Anton.
We have Anton. He's the best.
Yeah, and the last question really, again, I don't know, people know they're putting here, so what are the best ways to create content that is in line with semantic web, the arrival of voice search, and Google rank updates?
I think the best thing we should think about
Basically, what was the future of content creation?
and I think, look, Laura, you probably answer this better than I can, but I think it all goes down to the user, what's going to appeal to them, and what we see what's working is trying to use scale personalization, which is, this is the task of this artificial intelligence. That's what they're going to try to do. So I think if you had to make a start, it's go and look through your search query now and see what people are using voice search for you now. If you want to think about how people are engaging with you, it's not so clear to find out what's voice search and what's not, because nobody reports directly. But a good tip is to go in and look for queries that are 4+ words, and then that look like they're full sentences. So that's a good case. So some of my clients, for example, a furniture client would find that only certain types of furniture was getting asked for by voice. So okay, that's easy. We know that we need to promote this guy. And if somebody's asking for just information stuff, you can make sure you have more information. So just let that be your guide, and then try to come up with more and more content that answers that need, or then also think in terms of your top seller, that what makes you the most money. See what cool questions around that, and then follow the best practices that, like,
you guys have been preaching for years and years is to make your content valuable to the human. Like, that hasn't changed. In fact, the only difference is it's getting more important to do this, because where these artificial intelligence are becoming the curator of of content that gets shown to us, right? If I'm looking for something, then it's not going to let me have to go through 10 links to search, because that's inconvenient. Just wants to just give me the answer. And that's what search is about, giving an answer to your query. The format change. Whatever. So that's my answer for it. What do you guys have to add?
I was just going to say one of my favourite tools is Answer the Public.
Yeah, that's a great one for a voice.
Yeah, so just looking at the questions that people ask about your industry, about your product, about just general terms. That's one of my favourite things, because who's better to tell you what content to create than the people that are searching for it?
Exactly.
That's what already knows.
Google to get the answers, right?
Yeah.
So my thing around that question is, in some ways it shits me, because people are looking for the next, silver bullet. You're kind of like, well, how do I make this content rank brain friendly? I'm like, so I think that, the biggest thing around content, when I work with my team, I say, we have a general idea from SEO, this topic is of interest, but I don't want to be the one driving the idea, because if we're going to do an article around cheap flights to Hawaii, it may do great from SEO perspective, like reasons, but for a lot of you, it's of no relevance. How to get a weekend away in Hawaii on the cheap. That might be an article which is more relevant to use, but people aren't going to actually.
Or like when are the cheapest flights to Hawaii? Like think of people. Just search for. They're going to formulate it in a certain way, not just cheap flights to Hawaii.
And interest, so get those kind of engagement, because obviously you can talk to your customers, you can do surveys, various places to get that type of data and information, and find out what types of questions people may be struggling to find the answer to, or what.
Your internal site search, again, is one of the best things to mine.
So yeah, I think the focus on is it scheme friendly, brain friendly. I think as long as it's mobile friendly, loads quickly, and it's relevant, I think that's all you really need.
Yeah, how much time do people waste optimizing for something that they think is going to be, especially with Google and Google Analytics? All the people that all the pitch markup whenever we how much time is wasted implementing that and then it's gone?
And fights with devs and stuff. They're like, it's done. Why do we do this?
Yeah, there's so much stuff that comes on. People are like, right, we need to optimize this because Google said so, and then actually it should just be about what do users need, not like what does the search engine told us to do.
And everyone was like fighting around and complaining about that, but it wasn't. It's good to be I know, as you said, I love it when it loads fast. On the plane a lot, and like the internet within the US, and some of the planes, it's like horrifically slow, and like worse than like 1985, it existed. And so it's something like AMP, like thank God it will actually load something. So I would use it as a user. And that's what you think about it. Would you use it? Would your mom use it? Would your friends use it? That's probably going to be the thing you should optimize for. Authorship, like,
I've got things on that, but we will pass.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5 words, basically.
To create content. I think, well,
Me and David can talk
I think
all night.
we need to go back.
We can crack them open.
I think when planning and creating content, I think we need to go back to the basics, and it sounds like super basic, but think of your audience, the people who want to target as people, not like, someone behind a laptop or behind a device. So content that has some stories, always stories are the ones that are always going to be the most shareable. Content that has a story, content that provokes an emotion, anything from anger, happiness, and compassion being the emotions that make people share the most content. So anything that has an emotion, that has a story, that is user friendly, that are things that need to take into account when creating a piece of content. It doesn't matter if you just have the budget for just one article. Make sure that you have a strong story in there, that you have relevant quotes, that it can be just £200 to produce. If it's a good story and it has an emotion and it's relevant to your audience and your brand, then you're going to have a good bunch of, not good bunch, but you're going to have probably a good Facebook coverage with this or maybe multiple coverage definitely could pick up. That from if you have the money and the budget and your brand or your client is asking you for a more sophisticated piece of content, then always, think get back to the people and think your user, your audience as human, not just someone like many people who think just some people behind a laptop or behind a device or taking into account a lot of Google is selling keywords this and keyword that, but in the end, you have to build a piece of content that is, going to be attractive for people.
Amen to that.
Yeah, guys, we cannot get this hangout. It's
No,
been
that's because you're running the wine.
Honestly, we have to go find a wine opener. I'm sorry. But to summarize the whole conversation, voice search, artificial intelligence, but in the words of the great Purnavarji, we have to be more human.
Yes, being human is important.
Say hello to mom, the way. Hi, mom.
Hola en México, si alguien me está viendo, no me graben.
See you later, guys. Bye.
Bye.